guys, and welcome to another podcast. Today we're going to talk about not just happiness, but how to prioritize your life to aid your pursuit of happiness. Because happiness doesn't just happen by magic, and it definitely doesn't happen to you. I could simply take the example of somebody winning the lottery. That doesn't fix their relationships, make their pet not sick, suddenly transform childhood memories, or the money in and of itself can create a different experience of life, but it doesn't magically fix those things that intrinsically make you happy. So happiness doesn't happen to you. So how does it happen? Well, one of the practical ways that you can address happiness is through prioritizing how you spend your time. A very wise person once said, invest your time in the same way that you would invest your money. So it's an investment. And the thing about time as opposed to money is time is completely non-renewable. You don't get more of it, so stop wasting it. And when people, I cannot tell somebody how they should live their life, but I will tell them that if they want to be happy and experience happiness and live happiness, then they absolutely have to think about how they invest their time. Because your time is in fact your life.
Yeah, very true.
How you spend your time is how you are living your life. And if you don't think about where you spend your time, who you spend it with, what you spend it on, invest it on, then you're doing yourself a disservice. And the likelihood is there's parts of your life where you are not benefiting the most from it in terms of your happiness. So one of the things that I've said to my clients over the years is really simple thing, right? And I would suggest that everybody has a go at this, is write down the 5 things that you would spend your time on as priority. No restrictions, whatever. Don't sit there going, oh no, I can't because of this and because of that. Just the 5 things that you would really want to spend your time on.
Yeah, if nothing else came into the equation.
Yeah, forget about everything else, just these 5 things. And then write down the 5 things that you currently spend your most time on, and be brutally honest. Don't live in a fantasy here. Think about how your week or your day gets split up and what do you actually spend your time on. And then put the 2 lists together and see if they've got anything to do with each other whatsoever, or if they are completely different. And then look at ways in which you can integrate them.
It's almost like making very purposeful time for the things that you enjoy.
It is exactly that.
Instead of just hoping that you might have time.
Yes.
Yeah. That listings are great. That's great.
Yeah, simple task, right?
Yeah, but genius. Because it would be completely different lists.
Yeah.
Well, for most people.
For most people, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Unless somebody has already considered this and thought about it, then yeah, probably. Because let's face it, let's be honest, most people spend a ridiculous amount of time on a job that they hate or that doesn't make them happy. Okay, be honest there as well. Okay, so I'm not telling you to go in and quit your job tomorrow, right? But do be honest with yourself. Does your job actually make you happy? Do you look forward to it? Do you enjoy being there? I'm not saying do you just not hate it.
It's different.
I'm saying do you in fact enjoy it? And I'm not even asking if you're good at it. I'm asking if you actually enjoy it. Okay, there's lots of things I could have been good at in life, but I don't do them because I chose the thing I actually enjoy, and that is where I focus my time and attention. So look at your job. Look at, there's obvious things, right? Your relationships. Who do you spend time with?
Mm-hmm.
And what I'd suggest is that you start auditing these things really hard. So when you look at your relationships, you don't need to name names or anything, but are you spending time where it matters to you, with the people that matter to you?
Yes, now especially. I look back on the years, and this is what I was just going to say when you mentioned relationships. I look back on the years I spent with people where I was leaving feeling like unhappy, or left feeling like more stressed or a bit toxic. But you almost put up with these people because they were kind of fun to be with, or they made you laugh, or you had things in common. So it was almost like, and I think this is what you were getting at with the job thing as well, the job doesn't have to be awful to not make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't have to be terrible, but it's still not good enough.
Yeah.
And those friendships or relationships where it's not terrible, but you do feel like you're putting up with, you know, that's not good enough either. So yes, now I spend time with people who just make me feel good. It was almost as if you're babysitting people, in the sense that you were just allowing their negatives because there was some good, but you don't need to do that as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
You don't.
You definitely don't. And I think that you were allowing their negatives because there was some positives, right? Yeah, like that is not where it's at.
No, and people need to know that there doesn't need to be negatives. And if they are, they're like absolutely minuscule, like they forgot to use a coaster or something. It's not because they make you feel terrible about themselves, or they're constantly bragging about their lives and like undervaluing you.
Yeah. Think about whether or not somebody actually cares about you. Like, because it'll be pretty damned obvious.
Yeah.
You won't need to dwell on it for ages. You'll be like, does Lorna care about me? Yes, I know she loves me deeply.
Oh, that's nice.
She's watching.
No, absolutely. And there's that saying, you know, you are the result of the people you spend the most time with. And so to think that you can spend time with people who you do find annoying, you just do find them annoying. And let me tell you, you don't find everybody annoying. You really don't. And life doesn't have to be put up with terribleness or shit to enjoy some positives, because it can just be positives.
It definitely can feel sometimes, and I have felt like this in my life, and I felt like it was impossible when I was much younger. It was impossible to find people that could understand me. Now, I'm going to go out on a little limb here and assume that probably everybody thinks that at some point in their life, and that I wasn't like super unique and special thinking that. Nobody understands me. But there are people who will understand you completely and will accept everything about you and will enjoy you for who you are.
Absolutely. See, if you're wasting time on people that don't, you're leaving no room to find those people.
So true. And great point.
That's why I think people stay stuck in those situations, because it's scary to let go of something and kind of step into that unknown, and there's no like obvious replacement. Like, it's scary to think to cut off those people that you hang out with.
Maybe it was an interview with Joe Dispenza, or it was like a book or something. Anyway, he's got a thing that I've not came across myself, so it was like a second-hand thing, I think, that I got this information of adventure days, where you're supposed to go out for the day to places that you wouldn't normally go to, so that you meet people you wouldn't normally meet. Because if you do the same thing every day, you'll get the same results every day, and the next day, and the next day, and nothing will ever change. And I really like that. Aside from anything else, I really like the idea of little adventure days where you produce the opportunity for new people to come into your life.
Mm-hmm. Something different.
It was just such a lovely little idea, calling it an adventure day as well.
So, that is actually something I used to say to all my friends, was they would go out to the pub, whatever. Nothing new happens. You go out every weekend, and it's the same thing. You're meeting the same, not that nice people. What are you expecting to happen here? Nothing good's coming from that. I'm now not friends with those people, so yeah. No, they're fine people, but
you don't have to hate somebody to not be around them anymore.
No, absolutely not. And
that's kind of the point, actually. It's kind of the point. Like, making do with good enough is not good enough. You know, so that's work, relationships, but those are not the only things that we spend our time on. So one of the other ones that I ask people to look at is how they spend their leisure time. Now, you might be able to combine this with those people that you enjoy spending time with. So you might even be able to combine it with work if you're very clever. So, where do you spend your leisure time? How do you focus your time there? Because if you are somebody who flits from one hobby to another and never really gets very good at anything and is always like spreading themselves a little bit thin and stuff, like maybe you love doing that and that's fine. Maybe that genuinely makes you happy. Every week trying something new. Cool. But have a really honest discussion with yourself about what you actually enjoy doing. So is it that you enjoy being creative, you know, doing woodwork, or do you really enjoy hill walking or horse riding or playing golf or playing chess? Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Just be really honest with yourself about the thing that you are most drawn to, the thing that you're like, you get excited to do it, and then when you're doing it, you're so focused on it. Like nothing else exists, you just love doing that thing. And see all that other stuff? Do less of that. Because that other stuff is taking you away from that thing that you really, really enjoy doing. And now that I've said that out loud, how logical and obvious does that sound?
It's so, and everybody's guilty of doing that, saying yes to things that are kind of good, but then you're leaving no time for the really good.
Yeah. Like, well, I've got quite good at saying no to things over the years. Almost to the point where I'd actually have to remind myself to actually say yes to some things as well.
Side note, I seen a meme, it made me think of you, a meme last night, and it said, I put the no in, I'll let you know later. Just thought of you.
I don't even feel bad about saying no. See if somebody says to me, so say I've planned to go wild camping, something that I love doing, right? Say I've planned to do that, and somebody says to me, and you want to come, I'm trying to think of something else that I like doing but I don't like doing as much, you know?
Mountain biking.
Mountain biking. Right, perfect, right? Somebody's like, do you want to come out? That's a flat, that's an easy no for me. No, because I'm not gonna, even though I like that person and like mountain biking, even really like that person and I really like mountain biking, I don't like mountain biking as much as I like wild camping. You know, maybe I'd say to that person, do you want to come wild camping? You know, they say no, cool, I'll go on, just like I was going to. That's fine. And then I'm so content with the decision that I made, and I don't feel like I'm wishing the mountain biking was over so that I could go wild camping. Or wishing I hadn't gone mountain biking because it stopped me from doing the thing that I really enjoy doing.
You get resentful about it. And I always see this thing about social media, when somebody cancels a plan on you that you were already planning on cancelling and you're happy and everything. But all that says to me is you're saying yes to doing things that you don't really want to do in the first place. Yeah. There's maybe like a tiny like inclination that you might enjoy it, but there's also a part of you that's like, So see, this would be like my suggestion to people. See if there's part of you that's a bit like, I'm not sure, blah, blah, blah. Probably just a no. Just don't do it. There's a few caveats to that, but
yeah, no, it probably is just a no. Just don't do it.
Yeah. Not enough. You don't enjoy it enough.
Yeah, and there's that other thing you would rather be doing. You know, so that's again like, think of that. Invest your time wisely. And don't just get sucked along with what other people want you to do because you're worried about like disappointing them or letting them down or whatever it is, or because you've got this idea that there's some societal expectation that you should do a certain thing in a certain way with certain people or whatever it is. And really look into, what do I actually really enjoy doing? Like I said, you might be able to combine what you enjoy doing with the people you enjoy being around as well. Like, maybe I've never thought to ask Beth to go wild camping with me. You know, 2 birds, 1 stone right there. Already work with her, so I've got that covered.
We'll just be conjoined at one point.
Yeah. So, work, relationships, leisure time.
What would, just a side note, what, you said societal pressures, what would, because I think that is what keeps people stuck, is thinking they have to do certain things and be a certain way. Or do you know when you say job, I genuinely think people believe they kind of have to hate their job a bit, or they've got extreme guilt around it, and that's societal pressure.
I genuinely think people actually feel guilty about being happy, like that they don't think that's how life should look, so they don't try to do it. They don't look for ways in which to curate a happy life because they've convinced themselves, well, life is hard. You know, and they almost like, they're a bit brainwashed into that for sure, but that habit of always narrating that to themselves, life is hard, life is hard, life is hard, then that's their expectation right there, and they don't even look for ways to invest their time into things that would be good because they don't think that's what life looks like.
Yeah.
And dare I say it, for an awful lot of people, they don't think they deserve it. They don't think they deserve happiness. And that can run very, very deep into a whole load of stuff, maybe stuff that's came from your childhood, maybe the way that somebody has treated you in the past, maybe the way somebody treats you right now, that you don't think you're worthy of happiness and worthy of a happy life. And therefore, it's not even in your like radius of thought to try and change your life to make it happier.
Yeah, you truly believe that there always has to be something making you unhappy or making you stressed, and I really genuinely believe that comes back to like this toxic, like hard working culture, and like you have to be burnt out and blah blah blah, and if you take time off you're lazy, and it's so extreme. But I genuinely think that's where it comes. That's conditioning, like from society, to think you always have to be unhappy.
I said to somebody very recently, I was like, you wouldn't believe how little I work.
That should be the goal.
Yeah.
And it's not. We get praise for working like 60 hours, 70 hours. It's crazy.
Yeah. What I will say about that though is I really don't work at all because everything I do I enjoy. And that, so people could very easily go, oh, Anne, you are so lucky. No. I learned the hard way. I'm 45 now, and I spent at least 30 years, 30, I think I was into my mid-30s, doing things I didn't enjoy. Again and again and again and again, doing things I didn't enjoy. And I could have really done anything I'd wanted, like academically, I did well and all that. I really could have done anything, but I found myself in a loop of doing jobs that I just ended up doing and spending my time around people that I really did not like. And see, when I look back on that time, I was depressed. I was drinking a lot, I was unhappy, I was surrounded by people I didn't like, I was doing a job, actually, the HGV instructing, I did enjoy that job, but I didn't enjoy anything about the environment, like the people I was around and everything. The students I loved the students, but the company and everything were awful. And no, they weren't awful, right? Sorry, I'm just imagining that backfiring on me in the future
Before
if somebody
you get done
listens
for
to this.
slander.
No, they weren't awful, they were just very, very different from me. And it wasn't the environment that I wanted to spend all my time in. So off the back of that and living through all that and working hours and hours, long days, doing 2 jobs and all that, like I have learned the hard way. I have learned through the blood, the sweat and the tears, and through 1 or 2 people speaking up to me. So there was a guy in that job, Henry, who said to me, Anne, get out of here before you end up here as long as me.
Wow.
And God bless Henry, because that really, it was almost like I immediately felt panicked that what he said had so much weight to it. He really meant it when he said it, and it had so much weight to it that I was like, that's 20 years, isn't it? Just like that, doing a job that does not fill you with, that steals your time and doesn't fill you with joy. So I almost immediately, if not immediately, started looking for like a way to change.
Yeah.
And really I would say that conversation with Henry was the catalyst in a lot of ways for where I am now. Because it started that wave of going, hang on, he's right. If I just allow life to happen to me, then that is my future right there.
Yes.
Right there. He's standing there. He is my future if I do not proactively make changes to my life.
So it's the proactivity and when you've just said, like somebody said, you're so lucky for how you live life now. No, you purposefully and actively have curated that. It's been in your like front of your brain thinking about how you want to live your life. And I dare say that kind of summarizes everything we've just talked about. It's the proactiveness towards your own happiness, and that life doesn't just happen to you. You create it, and you go out and pick, and you choose, and making that a priority.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend either that it was all easy. Like,
so the way, sorry, I can't.
no, it's okay. It's like I left that job though, and I walked away from a really good salary, and yet I had a mortgage. You know, like, so all those people, oh, I couldn't do that because I've got a mortgage. Well, I had a mortgage as well. I don't own a house anymore, so that's the had. Maybe I just went out on a wing and a prayer and a lot of faith. Maybe I did. Worked out, didn't it?
That's what I was going to say, is you have to be willing to let go of everything that you've held true to believe that you should have a house, that you should have a mortgage. And yes, you can curate your life the way you want it to be, but you might have to let go of other things. But it's not impossible.
No.
It might be
I
hard.
can promise you, actually, it wasn't even scary when I did it. It sounds like I'm talking about it retrospectively, like it was terrifying to do. It was not. It was super exciting, and the best thing, it was like such an easy decision once the decision was made. And, you know, in terms of like the mortgage and the salary and all that, I just told me, like, I will find a way, that this is not the way. So I didn't immediately have, I was doing personal training already at that point. And I did end up coaching CrossFit off the back of that, but I would never have ended up coaching CrossFit if I'd stayed where I was, waiting for somebody to come and save me, waiting for life to produce some sort of magical opportunity for me.
Yeah. So you really had to let go of that job for the other things.
Yeah. And I had to let go of those societal expectations of job salary equals sensible equals whatever it is that it equals. I had to just go, nah, there's a better way.
Do you know what it's like? Is how you feel is above everything else. Doesn't matter how good the job is or how. I know people who will tell me that they have been clinically diagnosed with depression, and they like work a corporate job and it's really well paid and everything, but they will not let it go. They will not let it go. But these people are expressing like extreme depression to me, and it's that everything looks good on paper, but it's making you feel awful, and sometimes you're not even aware of it, that's the thing, because you think it should be making you happy, so you don't think it's causing your depression, but it so oftentimes is. Lifestyle matters so much.
It's so true. It wasn't until I was out of that job that I realised how depressed I'd been while I was in it. It was as each week went by, once I was out of the job, each week passed, and I started to feel a little bit different. And I had to go through, it was almost like I had to go through like a deloading of stress that job had given me. It was a very, very stressful job. Like teaching people to drive trucks is insanely stressful. But I didn't know that. I didn't know I was living that life at the time. And then working for a company that I didn't enjoy and all that. And as the weeks went by and I sort of like started to decompress and de-stress and like move into this new like world of opportunity, like where I didn't have to like answer to this job, I realised off the back of that, it took about 8 weeks. I even though it's many years ago now, I remember it really well. It took about 8 weeks, and I turned round to my friend and I was like, I was depressed. I was actually depressed in that job. Who drinks like a bottle of whiskey a week if they're not depressed? Right?
Yep, absolutely.
You know, so as you can see from like my sort of backstory there, like I don't want other people to live that life and never make that break. I so desperately want people to learn from what could have been a terrible mistake for me. You know, I might have still been doing that job now. I'm probably very proudly have been working there for 20 years, you know, because I've been getting on for that now. It would have been just a couple of years shy of 20 years that I'd have been there. And that is terrifying to me.
Absolutely, staying in the situation that's making you unhappy.
Yeah. Imagine what state I would have been in by now. I'd have been because I gained a lot of weight during that time. I'd have been grossly overweight, unfit, intensely unhappy. Maybe I'd have found myself in a relationship with somebody who, you know, confirmed those things, that depression and the unhappiness.
Almost certainly.
Yeah. And that's what terrifies me for other people, is like, I really want people to step back and go, hang on, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, let me take a minute to look at the 5 things that I want to spend my time on, the things I want to prioritize. And what are those 5 things that I'm currently prioritizing right now? And do they match up?
Absolutely. Do something about it if they don't.
Yeah.
Take action.
Yeah.
That's the takeaway, I guess.
So if you want to be happy, don't sit around waiting for somebody to come and save you. Don't sit around waiting for a miracle to happen. Take ownership of your life and address that. And of course, it's an incredibly rewarding experience because you literally make yourself happy.
Yeah.
So like, take action and take ownership, and like, take some steps towards like investing your time wisely.
Absolutely. Nice one.
Okay guys, thanks very much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, it really helps us out, and we will see you in the next one. Bye for now.